Well, I've been busy all day, and I have been waiting desperately to get a chance to talk about the news that broke this morning at 8:30 Central Time, or 9:30 Eastern Time for me, and that is more texts coming out from the laptop from hell that was published by Gateway Pundit, which I'm not a fan of Gateway Pundit. You know, they're not exactly what I would consider to be high quality journalism or anything like that. But considering right now the total media blackout of this whole Hunter Joe Biden story, this whole scandal of Joe Biden taking money from the Chinese for bribes and using his son Hunter as a bagman. You have to rely on websites like the Gateway Pundit. You can't wait. And frankly, compared to the New York Times, do I think that the Gateway Pundit is that bad? No, I think they're both bad. But that still doesn't mean that I have a great opinion of the Gateway Pundit in general. And if it was just Jim Hoft going out on a limb by himself, saying, publishing these things that he claimed to be texts, between Jim and Hunter Biden, talking about a woman who, and I have to be kind of vague here because I don't want YouTube to censor me too bad. I hope that the video doesn't get deleted or something and I get a strike on my channel. Because I'm pretty small, I have no influence, so if YouTube wants to shut me up, they do it immediately. I don't have a very big voice to begin with, so I guess it wouldn't be that bad, but I still like having my YouTube channel. So basically, there's a woman within the Biden family who accused Hunter, again, within the family in private, of doing unspeakable things to her child who, is under the age of 18, we'll put it that way. And, based on the text we've seen in the past that Rudy Giuliani unveiled on Newsmax a week or two ago, which, were Hunter Biden talking about his deceased brother's widow, the wife of Beau Biden, I don't remember her name, essentially saying that he created an unsafe environment for the kids and that his mother created an unsafe environment for the kids. And that she didn't want Hunter around her children anymore, and they were dating for a time after his brother died, which is at the time that very much creeped me out. I'm not really one to criticize politicians, i.e., Joe Biden, because of what's going on in their family life, but again, your crack addict son dating the widow of your dead son, that just really, really bothered me at the time. But from those messages that Giuliani released at that point, it seemed like she had a problem with how Hunter Biden was around the daughters of Beau Biden, meaning Hunter's nieces, or niece. I can't remember if he has one or two. I know Hunter himself has at least one daughter, I believe. So anyway, these texts that came out today, it seems like this is a part of that, and that the woman within the Biden family who is accusing Hunter of these unspeakable things is probably Beau's widow. And in this text exchange, Jim Biden, who is Hunter's uncle, the brother of Joe, he's talking, to Biden or to Hunter about how he thinks that these things are made up, that this woman's nuts, and that, him and Joe are on his side. Jim and Joe, they are on Hunter's side against the mother of this child, who, again, from what I can tell, unless, Hunter Biden was having these same problems with another woman in his family who has a daughter, which I find, I guess it's possible, but that would be even worse, I think. It seems like, Joe, Jim, and Hunter are ganging up on the mother, the widow, who is, whose daughter is an alleged victim of Hunter Biden. Now, again, I said if this was just Jim Hoft going out here and saying this, would I believe it? Probably not. Because I would say, maybe that's just Jim Hoft making something up for clicks, before an election. But I listened to an interview today with Giuliani on Steve Bannon's show, and I'm not a fan of Steve Bannon. But because Giuliani has access to the laptop from hell, I figured if Bannon had Giuliani on, Giuliani is, of course, a partisan, and is clearly, releasing this stuff to benefit Donald Trump. I don't think that anybody has any illusions about that. But I don't think he's quite the firebrand that Jim Hoft is. He has a bit more credibility to me, and I don't think that he would lie and say that things are on this laptop that aren't there. Because, obviously, in due time, he will be proved correct or incorrect. And so when Bannon was talking to Giuliani about this story that was published by Jim Hoft, Giuliani did not deny it at all. He went right along with it like it was fact. So that would seem to me like Giuliani is confirming Gateway Pundit's story, and I guess Giuliani might as well have been the person who fed it to him. I don't know. I'm not sure at this point how many people have access to the laptop from hell. But, Jim Hoft, in his interview right before Giuliani on this show, he said that essentially these pictures that Giuliani had alluded to before in his interview a couple weeks ago that I was talking about on Newsmax, that those pictures, there are apparently thousands of them, he said, which might have been an exaggeration, I don't know, that do implicate Hunter Biden in crimes against this minor member of his family. So it would seem to be that what they're saying, and what Giuliani did not deny is, and what Giuliani seemed to be pretty much saying before but not directly saying, is that there is CP of Hunter Biden and his niece, it would seem, which is really, really disgusting for me to think about. It's hard for me to say it out loud. I can hope that all of this is just tripe, that this is smearing, that this is not true, and that people like this don't exist. But sadly, people like this very much do exist. There is evil in this world. There's a lot of evil in this world, and it's not something that I personally like to associate. Well, it's not the kind of thing that I really like to think about or to consume or to read about. I don't watch even, Investigation Discovery or stuff like that, or Dateline. I just, I don't like to hear about people doing evil things. It doesn't entertain me. It's not fun. But, Rudy Giuliani is someone who, in this country, used to have, pretty universal respect. I mean, he used to be known as America's mayor. He broke up the 5 families in New York. I mean, I think that Giuliani has some self-respect left. It's hard, I guess this is partially me wanting to believe that Rudy Giuliani is deep down a decent person. Because I mean, when I was younger, when I was more naive about politics, I was one of those people who liked Rudy Giuliani as a person and thought he was just generally a good American. And I would like to think that him staking his entire career, his whole record of, fighting against government corruption and the mafia, organized crime, and all these, and saying, what he said about the Bidens, and going out here and, providing all this information, conducting this investigation on behalf of the Trump campaign. I would like to I would tend to think that he would not just be making all of this up and exaggerate, because I don't know what sort of innocent thing you could take and twist to mean what they're talking about, because this is a very black and white issue. It's, if it was just about Hunter Biden being a drug addict and that's why they didn't want the kids around him, that'd be one thing. But that's not really what they seem to be talking about. And I just, there's no, either it's true or they're totally making it up. I don't see an innocent explanation for, Hunter having some sexual problems regarding the children in his family. And it really, really hurts me to think about, because he has his own children. Hunter Biden has a daughter who was just who was just with Joe Biden for a campaign photo op. I mean, to think that this, disgusting drug addict who engages in all sorts of, I'm sure, depraved sexual acts in his own home, and in his own, in his own words, walks around the house naked and FaceTimes underage girls naked, has been, of course, shown on video on the internet, video that I wish I hadn't seen, but was put on my Twitter feed by many, many people retweeting it before Twitter silenced it. He's been shown over the weekend, smoking crack and while engaging in sexual acts. And this really isn't a camp. You can say that, well, Hunter Biden's not running for president, and this isn't a campaign issue. Well, the stuff about all the China blackmail stuff, which is separate from what I'm discussing today, I mean, that's very much a campaign issue, because that very much involves Joe Biden. But to me, this is still a campaign issue, because if Joe Biden knew about all this, If what Jim Biden is saying in these texts to Hunter is true, that him and his brother Joe Biden, the vice president or ex-vice president at this time, 2017, that they were on Hunter's side against this mother, and that this mother wasn't just some crazy crackpot who was making up a story about Hunter, and in fact was, alluding to something that really happened to her daughter. If Joe Biden was a part in trying to silence that woman and to, cover up the abuse that her daughter endured, Joe Biden, I already think that he's a pretty, bad guy. Anyone who gets that high in politics is generally going to be a very evil person. You have to be okay with doing some pretty evil stuff to gain that much power in this country. You have to sell yourself out to a lot of people, but that, this would just really cement that. So to me, logically, should it be that crazy for me to think that Joe Biden could have done this, could have been involved in trying to, cover up what his son was doing, potentially? No, it shouldn't be surprising, but it still does surprise me on a very, on a basic level. It's kind of like with Bill Clinton. Even though we know that Bill Clinton is a rapist, a serial rapist, to me, as someone who grew up, as part of Southern culture and such, I mean, Bill Clinton is a very appealing personality. He still comes across as a nice guy. I still, when Bill Clinton, although he's getting pretty old and crabby now, but for most of my life, when Bill Clinton was on TV, even though I knew he was a dirtbag, he still came across as likable. And it's really hard, it's a hard thing, logically, and this is why democracy is so screwed up. People vote based on likability, and some people can be really unlikable even if they're decent human beings, and some people can be really, really unlikable even if they're evil, subhuman monsters. So I guess that's about all I have to say on this issue. I hope I don't have to talk about it again tomorrow, but I probably will until we find out the whole truth about this. But needless to say, if Joe Biden gets elected, he's not going to be president for very long. I don't see how a scandal like this can just be swept under the bridge. Kamala Harris will assume the presidency fairly quickly if Joe Biden is elected. So that's a good reason to not vote for Joe Biden. I don't think there's really anyone in this country who wants Kamala Harris to be president. The far left doesn't want her. The far right doesn't want her. The center doesn't want her. The center right doesn't want her. I guess the center left, maybe. There might be a minority of people amongst the center left who support Kamala Harris. The people in the media, the people in the DNC. But that's about it. I mean, she got no support in the Democratic primary. She had to drop out before a single vote was cast because she knew she would be embarrassed and laughed out of the race. But boy, I mean, what else is there to say? So, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe because I do upload every day, and I'd hate to have you miss one. So, I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.